You've probably noticed it, right? From ancient rituals all the way to cutting-edge labs, something huge is happening with psychedelics. After decades of being in the shadows, we are in a full-blown psychedelic renaissance. And now, for the first time, scientists are really starting to figure out why.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? I mean, can you think of anything else that has so completely shaken up fields as different as neuroscience, psychiatry, philosophy, and even art? Their impact is just incredibly wide. Okay, so beyond all the hype and the incredible stories people tell, what is actually going on in our heads? Biologically, what is the machinery behind this experience?
Well, let's dive right in. Because believe it or not, that entire cascade of effects, everything from seeing wild geometric patterns to feeling connected to the universe, it all traces back to one single critical starting point.
So, to really get what's happening now, you have to know this is kind of the second wave of interest. But what makes this psychedelic renaissance so different is our toolkit. Today, we have these incredible tools like modern brain imaging that let us see the effects with a clarity that was just impossible a few decades ago.
All right, so to really understand how these compounds work, we have to start at the very, very beginning, with the molecular key that literally unlocks the entire experience. So when we talk about the classical psychedelics, things like LSD, psilocybin from mushrooms, DMT, they all share one fundamental thing. They all work on a very specific serotonin receptor called the 5-HT2A receptor. This is their ground zero, their non-negotiable point of entry into the brain. And check this out, this is just a wild and totally grounding fact. Scientists have done the experiment. If you give someone a drug that blocks this one specific receptor, and then you give them a psychedelic, absolutely nothing happens. The whole fantastical, world-shattering experience is completely prevented. It really does all begin right here. So you flip that one tiny switch, and what happens next? A massive chain reaction kicks off. It's a cascade that ripples up from that tiny molecular level to disrupt the brain's entire normal operating system, plunging it into this temporary state of beautiful, creative chaos. And this sequence is absolutely crucial. See, it starts super small, at the molecular level with that receptor switch. That then triggers a response in the brain cells, opening up a window of what we call heightened brain plasticity. And that is what scales up to disrupt the brain's entire communication network. Now, this is what that network breakdown actually looks like. So on the left, that's a brain on a placebo. Pretty orderly, right? Communication is happening within these established networks. But look at the right. That's the brain on psilocybin. That rigid structure just dissolves. You get this explosion of crosstalk between brain regions that almost never speak to each other. The brain becomes, for a little while, a much more interconnected and globally integrated system. And there's a really cool name for what we're seeing here. It's called the entropic brain hypothesis. Now, entropy sounds complicated, but it's just a fancy word for unpredictability or complexity. The idea is that psychedelics push the brain into a more chaotic, higher entropy state. And this higher brain entropy directly corresponds to a richer, more complex state of consciousness. It's that simple. So what does all this mean for us? Well, these dramatic changes to the brain's hardware, its physical wiring, have a profound effect on the mind's software. We're talking about our beliefs, our predictions, our whole sense of who we are. You see, our brain is basically a prediction machine. It's constantly using our past experiences to build models, or what scientists call priors, to predict what's going to happen next. Now, this is super efficient, but it can also make us really rigid. Psychedelics seem to work by basically relaxing these high-level beliefs, loosening the tight grip of our brain's top-down control. Here's a simple way to picture it. The normal brain is all about top-down control, filtering reality through these strong beliefs to keep things orderly and efficient. The psychedelic brain, it completely flips the script. Those high-level beliefs are relaxed, and that allows a flood of raw, unfiltered, bottom-up information to come pouring in from our senses. The result is a more chaotic, but also a much more novel and flexible way of seeing the world. And this right here, this is where it all starts to click. Because this state of relaxed beliefs isn't just some bizarre trip. It may actually represent a profound window of opportunity for therapeutic change. I mean, think about so many mental health conditions. At their core, you can see them as disorders of rigid thinking. In depression, you have these deeply stuck negative beliefs. In addiction, compulsive habits. In OCD, intrusive thought loops. These are all examples of the mind getting stuck in these harmful, rigid patterns. One way to think about this problem is a model called TIBR. It stands for tightened beliefs in response to uncertainty. The basic idea is that when we face a lot of stress or trauma, our brain can tighten its grip on certain beliefs as a defense mechanism. The problem is, sometimes those beliefs get locked in and become super resistant to change, no matter what new evidence comes along. But if TIBAR is the problem, then there's a model for the opportunity too. And it's called REBUS, Relaxed Beliefs Under Psychedelics. This model proposes that by pharmacologically relaxing those tightened pathological beliefs, psychedelics can open a critical but temporary window where those beliefs can finally be looked at, revised, and updated in a much healthier way. So really, the whole goal of psychedelic-assisted therapy is to use this special neurobiological window. The drug itself creates the opportunity. It relaxes those rigid beliefs. But it's the therapy, the context, and the integration around it that help a person harness that opportunity to do the real work of changing those beliefs for good. So let's just trace that entire amazing journey one last time. It all kicks off at a single molecule, the 5-HT2A receptor. Activating it sends the brain into a more chaotic, more plastic state, dissolving the rigid communication highways. That biological chaos then creates a psychological opportunity, allowing our deepest beliefs to finally loosen their grip. It's an incredible cascade that flows from one molecule all the way up to a fundamental shift in mindset. Which really leaves us with a profound question to chew on. If the very architecture of our beliefs isn't as permanent as we thought, and if it can be temporarily and safely relaxed, what new possibilities does that open up for treating the most stubborn forms of human suffering?